pleasure meeting you, both Zoya and Reema. Thank you
Likewise.
for joining us here on AVS. I want to just jump right in. First, Zoya, I want to start with you. So this film has so much anticipation around it. I want to ask, were you nervous at all because the audience might receive it given the popularity of the comics? Were you nervous about the expectations?
I'm nervous before every film, so it hasn't changed. And every film has its own expectations, and this one's slightly larger because it's a global IP, and the characters are iconic, and everyone who's read them has their own version in their head of that particular character. So yes, it's a bit scary, but you're nervous before every film, so this one's not different.
So there's no extra expectation that you're putting on yourself because of what's existed before.
Uh, I mean, you'll always find something to freak out about.
Mhm.
So you have to just control that. But yeah, I'm nervous, if that's the
Yeah,
question.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
short
they
answer
also.
is yes.
So, Reema, based on that, based on what's already existed, tell us about your approach to the script and characters. Have you guys stayed true to the comic book characters, or did you add some of your own masala, your own flavor?
I mean, it's a combination of both. Zoe and I are both Archie heads. So it was important to us to kind of retain the essence of the characters. But again, it was an American IP that we are adapting to India and kind of adapting a fictional place, Riverdale, to a fictional place in India. But yeah, I think the most important part of the scripting process was kind of finding the community that we were going to root them in. And
Mm.
that was the Anglo-Indian community, you
And
know?
that part was done, I think, so well. I was actually curious about that going into it. I was like, how are they going to make the community fit into it? But it was done beautifully. And I want to bring up this as well, the cast. Zoya, let's talk about the casting a bit. Was this your dream cast, or how easy or challenging was it to direct this bunch given one audience expectations? They're also newcomers, and just fitting them into this mold that might already exist for these characters. Talk us through that process.
Usually what happens is when you're writing a film, you start seeing an actor, an established actor in that role through the process of writing it, and then that becomes your dream cast. So when you have your bound script, you are approaching that particular person because you've started like seeing them in the part. With this film, it was quite different because we didn't have anyone in mind and we didn't have anyone in place. We knew we needed a completely new cast because, as I said, they're iconic characters. We didn't want an established actor coming in with their own image, with their own baggage onto it. We needed somebody who's completely new. So for the audience, this person is the Archie and this person is Veronica. But and they needed to be 17 years old. So it had to be new. So we didn't have anyone in mind. We just did extensive auditions. The process was 8 to 12 months, actually. We did extensive auditions. We kept narrowing it down. And then finally we had a list for each character. And then we kept retesting people. I think only one or two. We just didn't like anyone. And then when we found Ethel, who was Dot, and we found Yuvraj and Mihir. These three were cast really quick.
So, Rima, did any of these newcomers surprise you once the casting process was complete? They say, fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Was that true for some of the star kids, or would you say that each one came to their own?
All of them, all seven of them actually have surprised me. They're really wonderful. And once you see the film, you'll understand why we cast them. And they've really worked hard. And each character, they're just like, they've gotten into the skin of the character. So I'm happy and surprised and taken aback and amazed by all seven of them.
Yeah, I love that. So, Zoya, tell me about creating the world. Where did you guys shoot to create this type of scenery? And take us through the process of taking this comic book world to life on screen.
It was period. It was before social media. We didn't want it to be a contemporary version. Also, Riverdale's been done and it's done really well. So there was no point in trying to repeat that experience. We knew we wanted it period. We knew we wanted it to be to pass on that feeling of what it was to read that Archie comic. That kind of like there was an idealistic space to it. There was an innocence to it, which is lost on a level. So to recapture that. And the next thing was where do we set it? And we wanted to retain Archie, Betty, Veronica, the character names. So we needed that kind, like a Christian community. And then there was Goa, there was the Anglo-Indian community, and that fit really well. So from Americanizing, we Anglified it. And but they have a culture of music, they have a robust culture. Their fashion was similar, they have a culture of food, they have everything fit really well. So once we had locked that, then you get a very good crew in that just creates a world, you know. So it was Ooty, a bit in Mauritius, and a little bit on set, and weave that together and make a combination of what really exists in Hill Station, India, and a storybook version of it, and put that together.
I love it. Another thing I think is interesting is you both have worked on some amazing projects together, but this is kind of holistically different. The musicality approach to this, it's a clear musical in ways that even other Bollywood films are not. What are the challenges that come from a filmmaking perspective to put something like this out there compared to previous work that you guys have done? Reema?
Well, I mean, firstly, I don't think we've written this wide. You know, we've always written, I think, for like an above 16 kind of audience. This is the first time we've gone to 8 to 80 kind of, you know, because Archie is universal. It is for everyone. Like when I was growing up, my dad, sister, and me would be fighting who'd read the comics first, you know. So, yeah, that was the attempt to kind of write wide, appeal to a much younger audience. And, you know, it's also like today, Archie may not be as relevant as it was in our time when we were growing up, because kids have so much more today. And we didn't, at that point, I don't think we even had television. We had television for 2 hours a day or something like that, you know? So it was also kind of trying to make it relevant to somebody who's not an Archie head.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Zoya, your take?
No, you were talking about the music, and music is a huge part of Indian cinema. I mean, the fact that we're making a film out of India for the world, you know, and Archie, it had to be a musical because that's our language, that's our syntax, our grammar, and to do it in a way to weave the music into the story. I had a blast doing it. I love shooting songs. I really enjoy it, and it was fun to weave it through that story.
Yeah, and some of the music is just made so amazing, like dishum dishum, like the way it's unique. Like I haven't seen these takes. And I also want to ask you guys about handling creative differences. As I've said, you guys have worked on a couple different projects together. I'm sure there are times when not every idea meshes. So how do you guys handle things when things aren't always super smooth, or how do you guys approach those creative differences? Reema?
Well, you know, we've been working together for a while, so we are also getting older and wiser. When we were younger, you know, we would, you know, we still have. I think we think, you know, though there are certain common grounds, we also are two different people with two completely different heads, you know, so there's always, you know, differences, creative differences. And now we kind of just let the better argument win. Earlier, we would try and sort it out that day. Now we just sleep over it, and, you know, whatever is the better argument kind of sticks.
Also, I mean, there are rules. I mean, if who's directing has the last word. If we're writing a script and she's directing it, then you know, we'll have to go with what she says. If I'm directing it, we kind of go with what I say, because the director has to own it, you know,
Right.
on a level. But having said that, I mean, now we don't fight creatively like we used to. I mean, there's more sync and there's more of an understanding now, and like she said, it's the better argument wins.
Yeah. And I think that's all part of the process. Ultimately, you guys make magic,
Yeah.
and I think that sometimes you need to
Thank you.
go
Thank
through this stuff. Finally, before I let you guys go, the Archies is coming out now, and you've already gotten all readied up for your next release, Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, which
Yes.
also the world is so excited for. How would you describe that film, Zoya?
That's a coming of digital age movie. I think it's really interesting because it's made by a first-time director, and he was my DA. And we were working on Gully Boy, and he was talking to me about being 25, and we like talking about me at 25 and him at 25, and him being 25 years old, and what a huge impact social media has on their life. And he was telling me about his friends and their existence, and it's almost like there is an existence and then a parallel life on one level because of social media. And I found that his take, like there was something there And I asked him to start writing it. And then he came to us with an idea, and we loved it and co-wrote it with him. But I think it's the voice of this generation, you know. It's about 25-year-olds navigating Mumbai city at a time where you know, you have an alter ego and a personality and a completely virtual life as well. So it's a very, very I mean, I love that movie. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we're really happy
we are
and
very
proud.
excited about it. We're
Yeah,
very excited. And yeah, and it's a new voice, and that's what we want to do with Tiger Baby. We want to platform new voices, and we couldn't have done that without him, you know, because it was a 26-year-old talking about his experience.
100%. I love that. And I think the generation will really connect with it. As a parting thought, I want each of you guys to tell me which Archie's character resembles you the most. Reema, we'll start with you.
You know, there is a little bit of me, I think, in everybody, but I personally kind of connect to Jagger a lot.
Okay, amazing. Zoya?
I have a bit of everyone in me, I think. I mean, I have days where I feel like Dilton and days where I feel like Veronica and days where, you know, but today I'll take Veronica.
Amazing. Let's go. Thank you guys both so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
All the
Thank
best,
you.
and just keep making us proud. Thank you.